All right. So again, welcome to Wealthy Wednesdays. So I'm going to talk to you all about something that's been reoccurring, right? Something that's been reoccurring over like the last 2 days. The last 2 days has like been really weird. So yesterday I had a client call me, and clients trying to get a mortgage. Can't get a mortgage because they have some student loan issues, right? By the way, let me rephrase that. They already have a mortgage. They are looking to refinance their mortgage. So you know how everybody always says that once you get a home and you got a mortgage, you could always refinance that home because real estate's so great. Well, in this case, woman makes great money, but she can't refi and take advantage of these low mortgages because of her student loans or do mortgage rate interest, low mortgage rate interest, right? So that's an issue. Works a job 9 to 5, but also has a business on the side. And so they asked me a question. They said, well, I would be able to get a mortgage if I made more money. So they said, well, what would happen if I did not file my expenses on my tax return? Right? If they just submitted a tax return that's specifically talking about leaving their expenses off, their business expenses off, the tax return. And so I said to them, that's like tax evasion. Technically, it's not tax evasion, right? Because you're going to be paying the full load of the taxes. However, it will be considered mortgage fraud because you are falsifying documents in order to get a favorable outcome for yourself. So that was just one time, and this was yesterday. First thing this morning, I then get a phone call from a friend of mine who's a business owner asking me, Kamari, I have this guy who works for me. He's a 1099 employee. By the way, there's no such thing as a 1099 employee. I'll tell you more about that later, though. But he works for me. He gets a 1099. He's trying to buy a house. Man's trying to buy a house. And so I say, okay. So the problem is his expenses are too high and he doesn't have enough revenue. So what would happen if he submitted his tax returns and then amended them? I said, again, I wouldn't do that. Sounds like an audit flag to me. Sounds like a way to get in trouble because, and let me back up. What's an amended return, right? An amended return is, let's say you submit your return originally, you get it in before the deadline and you miss some things, right? Maybe let's say you're in business, you got a 1099 from somebody or you got some income from somewhere and you forgot to include it. Your bookkeeping might not be that great. Okay, that's cool. You then find that income, put the income on the tax returns, you fill it out, and then you submit it to the IRS. That's okay. However, when you go into it with the intention of fraud, because it is fraud, right? It's misleading. Then that's where it potentially becomes a bad thing. Not potentially, it is a bad thing. So listen, after the Great Recession, when we had the big real estate bubble, not buggle, but I kind of like buggle. Maybe I'll create that word. But we had that big real estate bubble. The FBI started to look into how mortgages were done and how they were originated. Why? Because there was so much mortgage fraud going on with these no-doc loans and people just kind of making up W-2s and just submitting anything that they wanted to the mortgage people. And then a lot of the banks got left with the bag, holding the bag or holding the house because they were stuck with the house. So you have to be really, really careful about the things you want to do. Oftentimes people come and talk to me and they feel like they're just trying to be creative, but actually what they are doing and signaling to me is that they want to break the law. Me, this black guy, don't want no parts of breaking the law. I do not look good in I do not look good in orange federal jumpsuits. I don't look good in federal, polo shirts. I don't look good in polo shirts, federal polo shirts. Don't want no parts of none of that. They send folks that look like me that do tax fraud, that do tax shenanigans to jail all the time for the littlest things. And again, I'm not trying to give any excuse for people that break the law. I'm just saying the law is a little bit more sensitive or a little bit more aggressive about sending people that look like me to jail. That's all I'm saying, folks. So I got those 2 calls. And it's funny, I didn't talk to another accountant friend, a CPA friend of mine, who said, yeah, mortgage brokers tell their clients to submit their tax returns and then amend them all the time. Now, I deal with mortgage issues fairly often because, again, a lot of my clients are small business owners, side hustlers, solopreneurs, and they oftentimes need tax work done or documents done, financials done to substantiate their mortgage request. Something else mortgage brokers like to make us jump through hoops to do, to try to say that this mortgage is really justified. And, again, that is not a good practice. That is not a good practice. That's why you really want to stay on top of your tax situation. So going back to my client who wanted me to not put her expenses on her tax return and just submit the revenue on a tax form, I said, nah, I can't do that. Just make more money. The solution usually, folks, is just make more money. JMM, just make more money, right? And so then that way, when you actually get the mortgage, it's justified, one. Two, you can actually afford it. Because if you do get this big mortgage and you can't really afford it because you actually do have to pay the business expenses attributed to your business or needed in your business, necessary in your business to generate the income that you need or to keep the business afloat, you still might run into an issue. So again, don't try to take shortcuts. Never try to take shortcuts, but especially when it comes to your home, especially with owning it. We've seen too many examples of it. People are still losing homes now because of some kind of tax shenanigans or whatever you got going on. It's not worth it. Listen, if you can't afford the home, just be honest about it. And then just JMM, just make more money, right? And part of making more money is also figuring out ways to reduce your money as well, or reduce your expenses as well. Because a lot of us spend money on dumb things that we don't need to impress people that don't like us anyway.